I want all of you to do 100% preparation, to be very, very Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, a very happy new year to all of you. Just a reminder that, not the dates have changed, but also that we have a new chance to improve. Your exams are very, very near now. 2 months, 3 months, very, very near. Everyone. So I want all of you to go ahead and give your 100% in this new year, right? I want all of you to do 100% preparation, to be very, very disciplined, and to work to your full potential, right? I want you to aim for consistency in this new year, right? So may you get clarity in concept, may you get calmness in exam, may you get confidence when you are attempting your paper, right? And may you keep working hard this year. I want to see all of you in very, very good university. I want to see you sitting at DSC, at JNU, at IGIDR, at IIT, right? At MSc, good places, right? So when I visit these places, I can proudly say that, all of these are my students. They've studied with me. So this year has to be the year of good changes in your life, right? So let's go ahead and begin this paper, wrap up this paper for this year. Okay, so we are going to work with question number 61. We already did till question number 60 in the last video lecture. Okay, let's begin with question number 61. Go ahead and attempt this question. Try to answer it in the window. Okay. Good. So let's try to see this question together. So the question goes ahead and asks, which of the following are correct in the context of a monopolistic market? A monopolistic competition is anything in between perfect competition and monopoly. Monopolistic competitive firm may earn economic profit or incur losses in the short run. हाँ, ये तो perfect competition भी करता है. So they can also go ahead and they can also do this thing. So yes, this is true. This is just like perfect competition. The long run equilibrium position of monopolistic competitive producer is far more efficient than that of pure competition. This is false, right? In monopolistic competition, we have inefficient quantity. That's why it leads to deadweight loss, right? So no, this is false. The firm may strive to increase demand for its product through product development and advertisement too. There is huge role of advertisement. Advertisement का बहुत बड़ा role है इसमें. Consumer benefit from wide variety of product choices. Yes, that's also true. Monopolistic market में बहुत ज़्यादा product variety होती है. So A, C and D are correct, which means this is the right answer to this question. Let's move on to the next one. Coefficient of determination measures. तो इसमें ना बहुत important है that you learn the difference between coefficient of determination and correlation. Sometimes they will ask you what is capital R square, small r. तो ये सब हमें पता होना चाहिए. Adjusted R square भी कभी कभी R bar square भी देखे ना, go ahead and ask you. ठीक है, so let's read out this question now. So coefficient of determination measures. Try to answer it in the chat window. Correlation between dependent and independent variable. Residual sum of square as a proportion of total sum of square. Explained sum of square as a proportion of total sum of square. How will the sample regression fits the data? Two. Okay. How about others? So, first of all, अभी ही मैंने बोला that you need to understand the difference between the two. Coefficient of determination and correlation are not the same thing. Coefficient of determination is R square. So if I say y, जैसे regression में बात करें, y is equal to beta 1 plus beta 2 x plus ui. So R square tells me how much x is explaining y. But this is always positive. ये मुझे बता रहे कि how well y can be explained by x. But when I talk about correlation, then correlation can be positive correlation or negative correlation, right? So coefficient of determination is R square, जो हम सिर्फ econometrics में पढ़ते हैं. But correlation is R, covariance by sigma x, sigma y. Correlation जो होता है, that is covariance between xy by sigma x, sigma y. So this can be positive or negative, right? तो ये तो नहीं है. A is incorrect. So this is incorrect, this is incorrect, this is incorrect, only this is correct. Right? Similarly, residual sum of square, no. R square can be written as ESS by TSS, which is 1 minus RSS by TSS. It is not RSS by TSS. So B is also incorrect. But C is correct and D is correct. So the correct answer to this question will be fourth option, not the second option. Right? So this is the correct option. Okay, move on. Next question. Which of the following statement are correct about contrast between pure public good and pure private good? बेटा इसमें exam point of view से everyone, as I have told you, will study the taxonomy of good. जो हमने वो एक matrix बनाया है, club good, public good, private good. You have to go ahead and you have to understand that 4 का matrix well, right? So tell me which option is correct. the total provision of pure public good is sum of private consumption, whereas total provision of pure public good is equal among individual. ये सही बात है. So if you remember, what is this saying? We have done this equation that the total amount of private good will be consumption by A plus consumption by B. But public good तो एक ही है ना, like one park. So public good will be simply consumption by A, which will be consumption by B. So this is option number A. This is true. This is true. अब option number B पे जाते हैं. The consumer in general pays same price and consume different quantity of good when there is efficient provision of pure private good. ये भी ठीक है. If I am paying 10 rupees for a chocolate, so you are also paying 10 rupees for a chocolate, isn't it? So we are paying the same price, but we can consume different amount. तो ये possible है that when we get px by py, जब हमें commodities का different price, relative price पता चलता है, individual A will consume where MRS is equal to his px by py, and B will consume where his MRS is equal to px by py. Right? अब ये अलग अलग हो सकते हैं. Right? Individuals may even have different indifference curve. Right? For me, the two goods can be complementary goods. तो मेरा consumption उन दोनों goods का kink पे भी हो सकता है. For you, the two goods can be like a well-defined function and you can have different consumption. Consumption can be different. But the price that once we enter the market, the price at which we get generally, वो सब मत सोचो. Monopoly, discrimination, nah. They are the extra things. They are the market failures. But usually speaking, हमें same price ही तो pay करना है for the commodities. So this is also a true statement. Consumer pays different price in case of pure private good. So now think about it. Yes, this is also true. Because in case of public good, हमारे पास provision हो जाता है the principle of, what is that called? Benefit. Each individual is taxed according to the benefit they derive from the commodity. तो मैं अलग टैक्स पे करूंगी, you will pay different tax. So we are paying different for the public good. Right? You remember vertical summation कर रहे थे. Price paid by first individual plus second plus third and so on and so forth. So this is also true statement. Atomistic market ensure efficient provisioning for both private good as well as pure public good. What about this one? What about this statement? So this is a false statement, right? Because we know what is pure efficient of private good. Hey, where is that pure efficient of private good? Efficient provision of private good, do you mean? Efficient provision means we are consuming it efficiently. Mane, we are consuming at this condition. This is how we find efficiency, right? This is how we find competitive equilibrium. So pure provision or efficient provision of private good is the condition at which you solve the private good. That's it. Is this the doubt? Okay, what is atomistic market? Atomistic market is a market where there are very large number of buyers and sellers. Atomist basically perfect competition. Atomistic का मतलब ये है कि everyone is atom size, माने बहुत छोटा 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 छोटा, which means कि no individual can influence the price in the market, right? So what is an atom? It's a very small thing, right? It's very small piece. Right. So atomistic market money, we are talking about a big market with very small, which means there are many people in the market, right? Very large number of buyers and sellers. In theory, it just means perfect competition. So perfect competition may, it ensures efficient provisioning of pure and private good. No. Pure public good जो होता है, it's a market failure. Public goods are considered as market failure. So you cannot have efficiency in public good. हमने public good में पढ़ा है that there is problem of free rider. Efficient equilibrium नहीं आ पाता है. So this is correct that we cannot have efficiency achieved in perfect competition with public goods. और ये बोल रहा है कि we can achieve. तो this is a false statement. So answer will be A, B and C. Okay. Why market fail? Beta, we have done complete lecture marathon on why markets fail. You have to revise the marathon well. Atomistic market. You can write it with me. It's a market where there are large number of buyer and seller, each small enough to not affect equilibrium price in market. ठीक है? This is the definition of atomistic market. Is it clear? Okay, move on to the next question. 64th. Go ahead, give this a try. Okay, how about others? Different answers. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look into it. So the question goes ahead and asks, according to the law of comparative advantage, trade will not be beneficial. Trade will not be beneficial for both countries if one nation is less efficient than another nation in production of both commodities. One nation has absolute advantage with respect to other nation. Opportunity cost of producing both the commodity is same. Absolute disadvantage that one nation has with respect to other nation in both commodities. What do you think will be the answer? So let's go ahead and let's evaluate this option. Now, one nation is less efficient than another nation in production of both commodities. It says trade will not be beneficial. Here, trade can still be beneficial. Trade can still be beneficial. Why trade can be beneficial? Because the person who is less efficient can take from the other person the commodity in which he is less efficient and benefit from it. Right? One nation has absolute advantage with respect to this. Trade can still be beneficial because we know that trade does not only depend on absolute advantage. Trade depend करता है comparative advantage के ऊपर. Opportunity cost of producing both commodities same, then trade will not be beneficial. अगर मेरा और आपका opportunity cost same है in producing the two commodities, then there is no benefit we can get from trade. हमें trade से कोई benefit नहीं मिलने वाला है, right? At last, the absolute disadvantage that one nation has with respect to another nation is same. Again, disadvantage same है, then it will not be beneficial. So the answer to this question will be 3. Right? So if the comparative advantage is the same, माने मेरा ratio, right? So we represent it as, in many books we represent it as A1L upon A2L. So अगर मेरा दो commodities के बीच में जो trade off है, it's the same with you, right? Then there is nothing we can gain. Although this theory has been disproved, अभी भी हम ये बोलते हैं that we can still gain because of product variety, but we are talking purely on the basis of comparative advantage, right? तो comparative advantage के law के हिसाब से, if the opportunity cost is the same, then we will then we will have no advantage. Okay. Absolute disadvantage one nation has with respect to another nation is same in both countries, in both commodities. So we are absolute disadvantage in both commodity माने we are in a way comparing the opportunity cost. ठीक है? Whether I say that I am comparing the opportunity cost of producing the two commodity and disadvantage in the two commodities, as long as it is the same, then no country can benefit out of trade. Right? As long as it is the same between the two commodities. So answer will be 3. Question says beneficial for both countries in A and B, trade is beneficial for one. No. Question says according to comparative advantage. Comparative advantage ये बोलता है कि अगर आपको एक कंट्री है, कंट्री ए, और इसको दोनों में ही एब्सोल्यूट एडवांटेज है, सपोज ब्रेड एंड गन्स, कंट्री ए हैज एब्सोल्यूट एडवांटेज इन बोथ और कंट्री बी हैज इन नन, then also they will benefit from trade. क्योंकि comparative advantage says that we have to find out the opportunity cost of production. हमें absolute advantage से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, right? Which means, for example, if I say country A takes 2 labor to produce 1 bread and 3 labor to produce 1 gun, and country B takes say 4 labor to produce 1 bread and 6 labor to produce 1 gun. 6 नहीं 7 कर लो, suppose 7 labor to produce 1 gun. तो absolutely हमें दिख रहा है कि it is taking less labor to produce both commodities. It has absolute advantage in both. But comparative advantage बोलता है they can still benefit from trade because we will compare the opportunity cost 2 by 3, 4 by 7. And we will see opportunity cost किसका किस में ज्यादा है. हाँ, if this opportunity cost is also the same, यहां पे भी 2/3 आ रहा है और यहां पे भी 2/3 आ रहा है, then there is no benefit. But if the opportunity costs are different, तो absolute से मतलब नहीं, they will gain from trade. That is what comparative advantage says, right? So A and B say that the country has absolute advantage, right? So absolute advantage में we are not interested. We are interested in comparative advantage. एक कंट्री को दोनों ही commodities में absolute advantage हो सकता है and still they can benefit after trading with the other country. Yes, that's right. No, B and D are not saying the same thing. having absolute advantage in both commodity is not the same as having absolute disadvantage in both the commodities. This is different, right? So when you have absolute disadvantage in both the commodities, then it says when will trade be not beneficial for both countries? If you have absolute disadvantage with respect to other nation in both commodities, then it is not necessary trade will be beneficial for you, because we are talking about comparative, we are talking about absolute. Again, I will give you an example. देखो, तो take this, I just took that example only earlier. देखो यहाँ पे पहला कंट्री को it takes 2 labor to produce bread and 3 labor to produce gun. दूसरे कंट्री को 4 labor to produce bread in 1 hour. It has to produce say 1 bread, so 4 labor and 6 labor to produce gun. तो एब्सोल्यूट को अगर हम कंपेयर करें तो B has disadvantage, absolute disadvantage in both bread and gun, क्योंकि यहां पे ज्यादा लेबर लग रहा है एज कंपेयर टू ये, और यहां पे भी ज्यादा लेबर लग रहा है एज कंपेयर टू ये. एब्सोल्युटली और कंपेयरिंग. बट नाउ कंपेयर द रेशियो. सो अगर मैं ब्रेड इज टू गन का निकालूं, दिस विल बी 2/3. और अगर यहां पे भी ब्रेड इज टू गन निकालें, दिस विल बी 2/3. राइट? सो द अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट, राइट, इज द सेम. ये भी 2/3 है और ये भी 2/3 है. Right? So according to comparative advantage, since the opportunity cost is same, there should be no trade. But B has disadvantage in both commodities because उसमें ज्यादा labor लग रहा है. Right? So even if country B has a disadvantage, then also comparative advantage के through there is no trade happening, because comparative को absolute से मतलब नहीं. It's not considering the absolute values. It is considering the ratios. Is it making sense? So if the ratio is the same, I am not concerned with absolute disadvantage. If the ratio is coming out to be the same, right? So then trade is not beneficial. Is it making sense? So I proved through an example कि although here there is an absolute disadvantage, trade will not be beneficial क्योंकि हमें absolute नहीं, we have to find the comparative. Is it fine now? Okay, so move on to the next question. If one has absolute advantage, other has disadvantage, does not matter. Comparative mein we always find the ratio, right? So it can happen कि यहाँ पे 4 है और यहाँ पे suppose 1 labor है, right? So it takes 2 labor, it takes 4 labor. माने country A has absolute advantage in bread. It takes 3 labor to produce gun, it takes only 1 labor, so it has absolute advantage in gun. But comparative mein we will find the ratio. So you check the ratio and you judge it for yourself. Which country will trade which commodity? Okay, next. Do this question. What should be the answer to this one? Okay. Let's see. In the Keynesian framework, determination of equilibrium interest rate also implies it's the rate that equates supply and demand of bonds, the rate that equates supply of money with demand of money, the rate that equates supply of money and demand for investment, the rate that equates supply of labor and demand of labor. So this is a very, very obvious question. And we know that it cannot be labor, first of all. Supply and demand of labor cannot give you equilibrium interest rate in the market. It means it cannot be D. So this is eliminated. Right? Sometimes you have to see कि कुछ तो बहुत ही obvious options है. Right? Okay. So now we are left up with option either C or it is A and B. So let's look at C. The rate that equates supply of money to demand for investment? No. If it is supply of money, it should be demand of money. So C is also not incorrect. Not correct. It's incorrect. So answer will be 3. Simple. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, very important. Beta, is pe I have made a very recent video covering all economics of imperfect competition was given by Robinson. Right? The theory of monopolistic competition was given by, you should know, monopolistic competition हमने किस में पढ़ा है, किसका पढ़ा हुआ है, कौन सा theory पढ़ा हुआ है? We have studied the theory of Chamberlain. Risk, uncertainty and profit is given by Knight. He has a complete theory under him, right? And theory of market economy by Stapleton. So answer should be A with 4, B with 3. This is the right answer to this question. Okay. Move on. Okay. Closed interval. Closed means you are including both the values. So A should be 2. Right? Okay. Next. Open interval, which means you're not including any of the value. So B should be 4. Unbounded interval, which means there is no upper or lower bound. माने या तो minus infinity से शुरू हो रहा है या infinity तक जा रहा है. So C should be, let me use a different color. So C should be 3. And half open interval माने one side closed and one side open. So D should be 1. So we get A with 2, B with 4, which means answer is 2. Move on. Weighted mean. Weighted means you are giving weightage. So W1 x1 plus W2 x2 by W1 plus W2. That means you are giving summation Wi xi by summation Wi. You are giving some weightage. So weighted mean will be 3. ग्रैंड मीन ऑफ कंबाइंड डेटा, इस पे क्वेश्चन यूजुअली कभी पूछ लेते हैं ऐसा कुछ कि मीन सैलरी ऑफ मेल इज 40, सपोज मीन सैलरी ऑफ फीमेल is 50, suppose. Number of males are 10. Number of females are say 8, whatever. Find the grand mean or find the mean of the population as a whole. ऐसा एक क्वेश्चन आता है, right? They ask you this kind of question. So कुछ नहीं करना होगा. It will be number of male into the mean of male plus number of female into the mean of female upon number of male plus number of female, right? So it means that the grand mean formula for B, it should be fourth. B can be linked to fourth. Now let's talk about the harmonic mean. Harmonic mean. So harmonic mean will be with the reciprocals. So here, थोड़ा सा printing में थोड़ा सा it's a little different. So it will be 2. And geometric mean माने root में होगा, right? If there are 2 values, 3 है तो 1/3, 4 है तो 1/4, right? So if there are n values, so a1 into a2 till an to the power 1/n. So for D, it should be 1, right? So you will get the answer as A3. So it means answer is 4th. Answer is 4th. Okay, come on to the next question. Question number 69. Do it. Positively skewed, moderately skewed, negatively skewed, and symmetric. Positively skewed will be where mean is more than median is more than mode. Negatively skewed will be the opposite. So where mean is less than median is less than mode. So A is 4 and C is 3. Okay. Symmetric is when all 3 are equal. So D is 1. Right? So you get the answer as A4, C3. Sorry, C is 2, not 3, my bad. C2, D1. And it will be this, B. More time is taken to look very carefully at the option. माने you may know the answer, but एक एक ऑप्शन को इवेल्युएट करके ठीक से मार्किंग द राइट वन, सही मार्क करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. सो यू टेक योर टाइम एंड बी वेरी क्लियर कि यू आर मार्किंग द राइट आंसर. ओके, कम टू द नेक्स्ट वन. So you have translog production function, generalized Leontief production function, Cobb-Douglas production function, constant elasticity of substitution. सबसे पहले we'll do the easiest. So we know Cobb-Douglas will be x to the power alpha, y to the power beta, right? So Cobb-Douglas can be written. Acha, so here the sign is important. When we write like this, na, right? It means that we are going ahead and we are doing product. We are going ahead and we are doing product. So for Cobb-Douglas, which means C, answer will be this, A. Okay? यहाँ पे we are doing product, right? So you notice this is nothing but x1 to the power alpha 1, x2 to the power alpha 2, x3 to the power alpha 3, and so on. Okay? So C is related to 1. Now you look at the translog production function. A translog production function, as the word suggests, is any where you will have logs. Okay? So basically, you need to see where log is coming. So you can clearly see it will be 4. So answer to A will be 4. Answer to A will be 4. Okay. Next you have constant elasticity of substitution production function. So constant elasticity of substitution production function involves the presence of rho. So we have to see where that row is coming, and for D, the answer should be 2. So you get A with 4. That means answer is 3. Okay? Oh, sorry. Just I was doing the highlight to color match the options. Is this clear? So answer will be 4. Acha, any Cobb-Douglas production function can also be converted to a log production function. इसको बस याद रखना. So it means if I have y is equal to ln, sorry, y is equal to x1 alpha 1, x2 alpha 2, I can always take log on both sides and write ln y is equal to alpha 1 ln x1 plus alpha 2 ln x2. Right? So any time I can convert a Cobb-Douglas production function in a log-log production function. B and B. Yes. So B is just saying generalized Leontief production function. So when we talk about a Leontief production function, we know that any Leontief production function okay. First of all, let me just tell you what is generally thought as a Leontief production function. So whenever we usually will see the word a Leontief function, so Leontief production function is any production function which is a min production. ठीक है, जब भी आप Leontief word देखोगे, you will notice that it is any function where we write min. So y or q is equal to min x1 x2. This is called as a Leontief production function. This is where the inputs are complementary to each other, or we can say that inputs are used in a fixed proportion. Okay, is production function को many will also write it like this: q is equal to min L by A, comma K by B. Okay, now since these are the production function where we go ahead and use the inputs in the fixed format, in the fixed proportion, therefore, one factor which you will recognize is that whenever you will go ahead and convert this in Cobb-Douglas format, you will always notice that they will have the same constant, right? So you will notice here, so just see here, you notice it clearly says A or alpha ij is equal to alpha ji, right? Now the generalization of a Leontief production function can be done like this. Q is equal to summation alpha ij xi xj to the power half. First of all, one property of this is that they are symmetry. That means alpha ij is equal to alpha ji. The second property of this is that all these alphas definitely are positive values, right? The third property is that the inputs, they enter as the square root cross products. Right? This is called as a generalized Leontief production function. It is a flexible generalization of the Leontief production function, right? So why flexible generalization क्यों बोलते हैं इसे? क्योंकि जब हम min production function यूज करते हैं तो हम बहुत ज्यादा फिक्स्ड हो जाते हैं that the inputs have to be used in a very very fixed proportion. बट जब हम एक Cobb-Douglas production function यूज करते हैं तो हमें ये तो पता है that we will use them in positive quantity because they're not touching any of the axis, right? So when I make a Cobb-Douglas isocont, it doesn't touch any of the x-axis or y-axis. So I know none of the inputs will be zero. माने ऐसा नहीं होगा कि एक ने completely दूसरे को substitute कर लिया. But the Cobb-Douglas production function allows us to move at different points and use inputs in different proportions instead of using them in fixed proportion. तो यहाँ पे मुझे पता है that when I have min of 1x1 comma 2x2, I know the ratio is 1x1 is equal to 2x2. Ratio और कुछ नहीं हो सकता. But here, when I use this kind of production function, I know कि I have different options, right? इनका जो ratio है, it will depend on their MRTS. The ratio can differ. So this is a generalization of the actual Leontief production function. Just that it is allowing limited substitution among inputs. माने ये इतना वो नहीं है, फिक्सेड नहीं है कि इसी रेशियो में ही हमें यूज करना है, थोड़ा फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी हो जाता है, right? So it is closely associated with the work of Leontief, but it was not given by Leontief. ये Leontief ने नहीं दिया था. It was generalized by Dewert. ठीक है? So Diewert. He generalized this. Right? So all that you have to understand is that a Leontief production function होता min है. We use that in fixed proportion, but जब हम उसका generalization कर देते हैं, we write it like a very close Cobb-Douglas production function, but with symmetry. जो उसका coefficient है, that is symmetrical, right? So this is a generalized Leontief production function. Is it clear now? Any other doubt? Okay. Next one. So very important that you remember these definitions well. Hedging से शुरू करेंगे. Hedging is the most basic one. So what is hedging? Hedging is when you go ahead and when you cover your risk. In the most simple terms, when I try to go ahead and when I try to cover my risk, when I avoid foreign exchange risk, when I cover up my risk, उसको हम hedging बोलते हैं, risk avoidance, right? Correct. So D should be related to avoidance of risk, right? Now let's talk about foreign exchange futures. तो futures, forwards, ये सब क्या होते हैं? When you buy something for a transaction in the future, but exchange rate will be determined today. आपने आज बता दिया कि मैं फ्यूचर पे किस एक्सचेंज रेट पे ट्रेड करूंगा या करूंगी, राइट? सो यू आर टेलिंग फ्यूचर ट्रांजैक्शन का रेट ऑफ एक्सचेंज टुडे, देन दैट इज अ फॉरेन एक्सचेंज फ्यूचर. सो सी विल बी लिंक्ड टू D. Fourth, refers to agreement today to buy sell specified amount of foreign currency at a specified future date at a rate agreed today. तो rate आज agree हो रहा है. So C is fourth. Now foreign exchange swaps. Word बहुत clear है. What is a swap? So swap is when you go ahead and you swap. कि when you swap spot with forward या forward with swap spot. Right? There is a swap involved. दो exchange rates का, दो contracts का, that is a swap. So it should be 3. Refers to spot sale of currency combined with forward repurchase of same currency in the same transaction. दो चीजें एक साथ when you're doing, that's a swap. And forward transaction, so forward transaction is a forward contract. So B will be 1. Right? So just mark this. Answer. A is 3. D is 2. B is 1. and C is 4. Is this matching with anything? No. So we have to mix this. I'm going to take B as 4th and C as 1. Then I think it will match. It will be 4th one. Okay. So this is where some presence of mind has to be used. देखो, forward and future, both of them are same only, right? Forward and future, both of them are very similar to each other. दोनों में बहुत ज़्यादा difference नहीं है, other than the terms of conditions, right? So both of them are contracts which are signed, जिसमें आप एक फ्यूचर का ट्रांजैक्शन कर रहे हो, जिसका एक्सचेंज रेट आप आज बता रहे हो. Both of them are derivative instruments. Both of them are used for hedging and speculation. They only differ in their terms of standardization. ठीक है, कि whether it will be traded over the counter या नहीं, क्या वो कस्टमाइजेबल होगा या नहीं, क्या उसका डेली सेटलमेंट होगा या नहीं, सिर्फ ये की फीचर्स में दोनों अलग हैं, राइट? सो वन इज अ मोर स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. जो फ्यूचर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है इट्स मोर स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड, बट जो फॉरवर्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है इट इज कस्टमाइजेबल. ठीक है, जो फ्यूचर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है इट हैज डेली मार्केट, डेली मार्क टू मार्केट, बट जो फॉरवर्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है इट डज नॉट हैव डेली सेटलमेंट. तो एक्सेप्ट सम ऑफ द फीचर्स, दोनों का काम सेम है, राइट? दैट यू आर टेलिंग द फ्यूचर एक्सचेंज रेट, यू आर टेलिंग दैट द फ्यूचर ट्रांजैक्शन will be done at an agreed exchange rate. दोनों सेम काम करते हैं, both do the same thing. So therefore these two options can be a bit confusing. So we have to see कि because here they are saying transaction, right? So maybe we can just mark it to this, although it does not make a lot of sense. दोनों चीजें बहुत same है, because this is also talking about an agreement and this is also talking about a contract, right? But the only keyword that I realized here is that here it has used the word standardized, right? And standardized are only futures. So I will just write the features ताकि आपको याद रहे, and you can add on to those features. Forward, futures, remember them, huh? A forward contract is a contract which is non-standardized, standardized, or customizable. A future contract is standardized. A forward contract is any contract which does not have daily clearing mechanism. No daily clearing mechanism. A future contract has daily mark to market. Right? A future contract is exchange traded. Whereas when we talk about a forward contract, it is over the counter traded, OTC. It's a private contract also. Okay. It has high risk. It has comparatively low risk, right? Usually a forward contract will be settled at maturity. जब वो mature होगा तब हम उसको settle down करेंगे. But here we have the existence of clearing house. We have the existence of margin deposits, right? So you have to go ahead and you have to see the differences. Okay? So I should have seen this word first, that here the word standardized is used. Standardized currency amount and selected calendar dates. Fixed calendar dates पे होता है, right? So therefore this is the right option. Okay, now in which subject these lectures are taught? If you are from MA batch, then it is in advanced macro. All these lectures are part of advanced macro. If you're from CUT batch, then under international. Okay. Done? Okay. Let's go ahead to the next question. Match the following. Seasonal variation, random fluctuation, business cycle and trend. That means time series की बात हो रही है यहाँ पे. Seasonal variation is something that happens every season. माने ice cream. Every summer demand will increase. Winter it will fall. Summer it will increase. Winter it will fall. AC. Every summer demand will increase. Winter it will fall. Demand will increase, fall. Every season it repeats itself. That is seasonal. So for this A, it should be movement and economic variable that depend on the time of the year. ठीक है. Next, random fluctuation. Word suggests it is random, unpredictable है. जैसे कोविड की वजह से एकदम से the demand decrease or increase. So demand for mask increased. So it is unpredictable. So for B, it should be 4. Business cycle. Business cycles are periodic in nature. Like this, right? So C, it should be 1. Trend. Trend is the long run mechanism. माने फॉर एग्जाम्पल जीडीपी आपकी इकोनॉमी का इंक्रीज है, डिक्रीज है, इंक्रीज है, डिक्रीज है, इंक्रीज, डिक्रीज. बट व्हाट इज द लॉन्ग रन line that it is passing through? Is that upward sloping or downward sloping? So the long run, long run movement of the variable, that is a trend, right? So D should be 2. So it will be A is 3. So this is gone, this is gone. B was 4. Okay. C is 1. 1 is the answer. Okay, come to the next question. Go ahead, do this. M1 से शुरू करते हैं. M1 should be 1. Currency held by public and net demand deposit and other deposit. So C is 1. Gone, gone. M2 is whatever M1 में आया है, plus you will have the savings deposit with post office bank. So it should be 3. So B is 3. That means answer will be 2. Okay. Then M3 is time deposit. So A becomes 2 and M4 is the biggest one. That means D becomes 4. So answer will be this. Mark very carefully. Huh? Match the following में you have to be very particular कि आप एक एक option को ढंग से evaluate करो. Right? Sometimes even with me it happens that I am matching it correctly here. But while going in the option, I mark the wrong one because they're very close. You see, this is very close. This is also 2. This is also 2. जैसे इसमें हुआ था especially. They were very close. 3, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2 and 2, 1. So that is why I take a time to clearly notice the options. हमें बस आंसर मार्क नहीं करना है. We have to see that we mark the right one in the exam. Okay. Come to the next question. So this is very interesting, huh? Ki it is difficult to remember these numbers, all of us understand. But a lot of times you have to use your presence of mind. जैसे we know that in any economy, the primary deficit is lower, at least ये aim रहता है, than fiscal deficit. Right? This is what we aim for. कि primary deficit should be lower. Actually तो aim रहता है that we have to bring, जो हमारा FRBM Act है, that says we have to bring the primary deficit to 0. But we have to make it as low as possible. So when I work on primary deficit, it must be lower than the value of the fiscal deficit. ये एक बात है. Secondly, this is point number 1. Secondly, in any economy, right, we again want that the current account deficit should be as low as possible. Third, right, we know that when we talk about the fiscal deficit, it is total expenditure and total revenue. And revenue deficit is only revenue part. So fiscal deficit must be lower than revenue deficit. Right? Fiscal deficit must be lower than revenue deficit. क्योंकि it includes revenue and capital. Both. वो total include करता है. So thinking about these things in mind, now I want you to evaluate the options well. So let us try to evaluate the options. I know that between C, B and A, when I will be marking them, there has to be a pattern which has to be followed, that B has to be more value. ये चीज हमें ध्यान रखते हुए करना है. Even if you don't remember the numbers well, right? So let's go ahead and let's look at those options. So look at option number 1 first. What happened? Just give me a minute. This is hung. This paper is such a big file. I don't know, sometimes the system just goes for a toss. Okay, so now just try to analyze the options and think about which is matching this relationship that I talked about. Let's see. So I know that B has to be a high amount. So if I mark B as 9.2, then A has to be lesser than 9.2,